Alright guys, I was asked a while back to make a video, or another video, on how to use ADTPro to acquire software for Apple IIs off the internet and transfer that software to magnetic media. So I thought I would, let's go ahead and recover all of these steps that you need to take to make this work. And I've learned a few things along the way that are very important to know. ADTPro is a free utility. It's available for both Macintosh and Windows platforms. You can download ADTPro right off the internet by going straight to, actually, if you just do a Google search for ADTPro, you'll see it listed on SourceForge's webpage. Now there's a few things you want to know before you even get this far. There are some issues running ADTPro on a 64-bit Windows platform. I have found that it doesn't work. The thing is, if you actually have one of these USB serial adapters, which is what you need to communicate from USB to serial, the driver is incompatible, where there are incompatibilities between Java and the serial driver itself. So what I found is that the 64-bit Java install, what did I figure out here? I think it was the fact that I was running a 32-bit version of Java on a 64-bit platform with a 64-bit driver. I tried to switch over to a 32-bit version of Java, but that did not solve the problem. What I ended up doing was switching over to a 32-bit version of Windows 7. I actually had another laptop, this one here, ready to go. So I grabbed this laptop, I installed Java 8, because you can use the latest version, and then I installed ADTPro and it worked fine. I also installed the correct driver for my serial dongle. Okay, so that is one thing you're going to want to keep in mind. I would recommend, just for now, running the software either in Windows XP 32 or Windows Vista or Windows 7 32. I haven't tried it in Windows 10 32, but that would be another thing to try. I don't know if that works or not. Okay, you want to make sure that Java is installed prior to starting your ADTPro project. Again, I have tried Java's version 6 through 8 and everything seems to work just fine. This depends on a version of Java that is accessible from the command line. So if you want to make sure, just as a prerequisite, all you've got to do is open up a command prompt and type Java space dash ver, and that will tell you if you have command line accessible Java. Oh wait, I'm sorry, I think it's version. Yeah, there we go. This is telling me that I actually currently have 16037 installed. Boom, it works. So that means I have command line accessible Java ready to go. Now, once you download ADTPro for your platform, you do not need to install it. It comes in a zip file, and all you've got to do is go to your download location and find there it is, there's a zip file. Open up the zip file and drag the folder to your desktop or to the root of drive C, wherever you want it to run it from. There's no installer needed. Now within the ADTPro 2.0 folder, you're going to find a couple of other subfolders. The one you want to worry about is disks. And I would suggest making a shortcut to this to make it easy to access right from your desktop. There we go. I'm going to just put it right there. Inside the disks folder, you're going to place all of the disk images that you've downloaded from your website of choice. Now, Apple II software comes in two main sub-varieties. The Apple II software, which is designed to run on almost any Apple II product, including the 2GS. And then there's Apple 2GS software, which will run exclusively in the 2GS. Some websites better differentiate the two. I'm going to show you two main websites that I use to obtain software. I'm going to be opening up Google Chrome in this case, and I'm going to do a Google search. Remember, everything that I learn from Google, so you can pretty much figure this out on your own if you know how to type in a search box. So Apple II, let's see, Apple 2GS games. If I just search for 2GS games, I get a variety of hits. But one of the hits I want you to go to, one of the websites I want you to check out, is virtualapple.org. Virtualapple.org is kind of a twofer. It gives you downloadable disk images that you can use on your real Apple IIs, or you can use their built-in emulator, which is, I believe, browser-based. And within that emulator, you can actually mount any of these images and play them right from your browser on almost any device. I believe it runs in Java, though. So keep that in mind. I mean, if you don't even have an Apple II, you can still enjoy these games just as you would if you owned a real Apple. What I like about this particular website is it divides them up. 2GS disks, 0 through 9, A through Z, and Apple II disks, 0 through 9, A through Z. For this demonstration, we're going to be working specifically with 2GS disks. So I'm going to click on one. Let's click on H. Let's see what's under H. Hardball. It's a baseball simulator. That could be fun. Hardball comes in one disk image, which means it'll fit on a single 1.44 meg diskette, just like this one here. Okay, that's pretty cool. So a lot of these games were very storage hungry. Remember, these games for the Apple II, many of them were made between 1987 and 1991. And at that time, we were transitioning from hard diskless machines to computers with hard disk drives, either internal or external. The size of an 800 kilobyte floppy was being stressed because obviously these newer machines like the 2GS could take advantage of more and more complex programs that included graphics and sound. So one example is Test Drive, which is this is a racing game, and it comes on 5 floppy diskettes, and you have to keep switching them out as you play the game. You know, it's definitely a tiring experience for some people. So we are going to download this baseball simulator. It's on one disk. A quick side note. If you're working with an Apple 2GS, a 2C Plus, or a 2GS, you can use 1.44 meg floppy disks, which are still easy to find today. I mean, I have not had any trouble finding these in thrift stores. Even some retail stores still have them on hand. You can get them online, and they're dirt cheap. If you're working with an Apple II with a 5 1/4 inch floppy drive, like this one here, they're a little harder to come by. But you can go to websites like retrofloppy.com, and you can buy those 5 1/4 inch diskettes. They're about $17 for a pack of 10. They'll also sell you low-density diskettes, which you don't need. You can use the 1.44s. They work just fine. One more thing. The retrofloppy, I'll bring it up right here so you can see it. Retrofloppy.com is also where you're going to be able to find your serial cables. Now, in order to link a modern PC or Mac to one of these vintage Apple IIs, you need the correct serial cable. The Apple IIgs uses a 9-pin serial to 8-pin mini DIN cable. The Apple IIc uses a 5-pin DIN to 9-pin serial. And you definitely need to have either a physical or a virtual COM port. I'm using this. I bought this also from RetroFloppy. This is a USB 2.0 9-pin serial port, and it's pretty easy to install. You can get the driver from ftdichip.com. I think that's the site. That's where you can get the driver for those, for any operating system that you're running. ftdichip.com. That's where you get the driver for those. So if you buy your serial adapter from retrofloppy.com, this is where you're going to find the driver for it. Okay. If there's any more questions on that, please ask. Let's move on. So we're going to start up our Apple IIgs. We're going to get it ready to accept a serial boot image, or boot image from a serial connection. We're going to make sure there's no disks in the drive, so it just goes straight to the check startup disk screen. You also want to make sure that your serial connection, or serial adapter, let me rephrase that, your built-in serial port is configured properly. I believe it's Control Apple Escape. It brings up the system control panel. Now, if your machine has a functioning battery, which mine does, the settings that you change here will remain so. You want to just double check if your machine has been messed with or has a working battery and it's not defaulting to factory settings every time. You want to make sure that your modem port is configured properly. We're going to go to slots, and it should be slot number 2 should be your modem port. These can be switched around. That's why you want to make sure that slot 2 is modem port. And the default settings are acceptable in this case. So if I select modem port from this root menu, just make sure that it looks like this. And the good thing about this is retrofloppy.com does have a tutorial on just this very topic. So you should not have any trouble with that. I'm going to open up my ADTPro 2.01 folder, and I'm going to open up my disks folder. Now, we just downloaded a disk image that we want to extract to a floppy disk using the Apple II and serial communications. So I'm going to open up my downloads folder, and I'm going to extract that disk image. What did we download? It was called, where'd it go? It's Oregon Trail, Quicks, Wolf, Hardball. Oh, Hardball, there it is. Make sure your disk image is sized properly. It should be 800 kilobytes or less. It's 801, but it should be fine. Compressed size is 189K. Okay, we're going to drag that right in here. Another important thing that isn't covered in the manuals, it's not covered in the tutorials, it's something I kind of found by accident. But what I found is complex names for files tends to cause some unexpected trouble. What happened to me a little while ago is I was trying to extract an image for, I think it was, I don't have it here, but the image name contained special characters. It was very long and had special characters. And whenever I went to go retrieve that file, I would start receiving host timeout errors. And there was like no way to get out of the timeout errors unless I restarted the whole shooting match. So what I found is if I just rename the file to something shorter, like we're going to call this in Hardball, the issue goes away and everything works fine. This happened to me previously, and I figured out what the solution was, and then I forgot, and then a year later I'm trying it now, and I'm like, what the hell, it's not working. Okay, we're going to go back to our ADTPro folder, and we're going to launch ADTPro.bat, making sure that our COM port is set correctly. I have this set to COM1, so I'm going to make sure that my COM port settings are correct. And I don't really have to because it sees it already. It's good to go. But we're going to go into File, Serial Configuration. That's where you change your COM port settings. These virtual COM ports can be set to anything from COM1 to COM4. It doesn't matter what you use, as long as the software knows it's there and it's set to the right port. When booting the machine, you want to select bootstrapping from the pull-down menu. I'm going to close this because it's distracting me. From our bootstrapping menu, we're going to select ProDOS and Speedy Boot. VS Drive in Speedy Boot is another option. It boots into a command line at that point. Okay. Now, I never quite learned the Apple II command line interface. I'm going to go further and say I don't even know how to use it. I will eventually learn. So, next step, we need to get this machine to a command line. Easily done by hitting Control and the arrow, up arrow, this top, whatever the hell this key is called. Anyway, there it is. We have a command line. Now we're going to type in the following, and it tells you what to type. IN#2. If you call it a hashtag, you're a millennial. Get the fuck out. All right, IN#2. Return. Next, it wants me to type Control A, which opens up, or it generates a question mark. And this is where we select, I'm not sure what that means exactly, 14B, but it tells me to type in 14B. I think that has to do with serial communications or selecting the serial port or something like that. Well, IN#2, that's interface number 2. That's the modem port. And 14B, I don't know what that means. But if I hit return, nothing happens. What the fuck? Okay. It's simple as this. Press OK. That starts the file sending process. What that's going to do is begin the process of sending the file, and you can see the hex code on the screen as it comes through. Then it starts to do that. And then you know you're good. That way you know something is happening and you've done something right. Pat yourself on the back. Okay, this takes a minute to start. We're going to just let it do its thing. And if your screen looks like this, hey. Okay. So at this point, you want to get yourself a blank floppy. And you're going to want to format that floppy. Okay. So we're going to go through the menu here. This makes it so much easier. Any idiot can do this. It really is. I mean, I'm an idiot, and I can do this. So, therefore, any idiot can do this. We're going to take that disk we just popped in the drive, and we're going to format it. Ignore the I/O errors. This is because there is not a readable disk in the drive. That is what it means. But it tells you the maximum block size of each drive. 127 blocks in the RAM disk, 280 in the 5¼ inch, and 1600 in the 3.5 inch, 1.44 meg. So we're going to select the 1600. We're going to use the default name of blank. And we're going to format it, and it's going to start formatting. It's going to take a minute or two, and there you go. In a separate video, I'm going to make a tutorial on how to fix common issues with these drives. The most common problem with this drive is it fails to eject or inject, that is, take in or remove a diskette. It happens quite often on these drives as they get older, and it's all fixable. You don't have to replace anything. I'm going to show you how to fix that. This drive wouldn't eject worth a damn, and now it's working pretty reliably, so I'm going to kind of go over that. I've done a lot of drive repairs over the years on these, and they all seem to work just fine. So I do not need to format another disk, so I'm going to select no for N for no. Now we're going to go up to the receive option, and it's going to come up with a blinking cursor. If we have the file name on hand, we can just type it in, or what I like to do is hit return, and that's going to show us all the files in our disk folder. This folder should match on screen. And you can change it, you can add files to this folder even after you've booted. All you've got to do is hit escape and get out of there, add some files, remove some files, and then go back into receive, and it'll appear. It can be done live. It's pretty cool. And the game that we just downloaded was called Hardball, so we're going to select that, and we're going to put it onto our blank disk just like so. So in terms of expenses, what does it cost to do any of this? Well, you have to make a few capital investments. You have to buy or build a serial cable. And the pinouts are not hidden. The pinouts for each cable are listed on retrofloppy.com's website. So if you have the connectors and the skill, you can make your own cables. Or you can spend $20 and buy the cable. I think I paid around $20 per cable. I had to buy the 2GS cable and I had to buy the Apple IIc cable. The 2GS uses the standard 8-pin mini DIN connector, and the Apple IIc uses the 5-pin DIN connector. It's the only machine in Apple's product line that uses that connector, by the way. But retrofloppy.com has the cable for you, and they're not that expensive when you put it all together. Some people kind of question why anyone would want to go through all this trouble. Buying an Apple II, downloading the software, doing all this. It's a hobby. It's something interesting, and it keeps older equipment in functioning and usable condition. Yes, you can do all of this in an emulator in half the time, but there's nothing like dealing with the real hardware of the 80s. I mean, these beautiful keyboards that are so nice to type on, by the way. These are great keyboards. Using these old Apple ImageWriter printers and making use of all this stuff that was forgotten by history. That's all part of it. It's part of kind of reliving the past, in a way. The other thing I want to mention is buying software on eBay is a huge, huge, huge risk. I can't even tell you how much of a risk that is. Normally, I don't enjoy copyright infringement. But most of the companies that you're downloading software from are no longer in business, first of all. But the other thing is, buying the games online is a huge risk. Going on eBay and buying boxed copies of your favorite games, and here's why. You're paying top dollar for 30-year-old floppy disks. Keep that in mind. Top dollar for a floppy disk that has 30 years worth of oxidization and wear and tear on it. The risk in that is great, because I've bought software online, and I want to say I've got like a 50% success rate. Half the time the software doesn't work, and they won't take my money back, and I'm angry. The other half of the time it works, but only for a short period of time. Once I start using something, like here's an example. I bought a copy of Print Shop Deluxe for the PC, and I wanted the box copy for a reason. I wanted the manuals, I wanted the it comes with sample envelopes and sample paper packs. I wanted all that, and I got it. But the software was useless. It worked 2 or 3 times and quit. That's the risk you take when you buy used magnetic media. So in a way, this ADTPro solution and the websites that offer software for free for this vintage stuff, that's the way to go. Because I now have a brand new, now this is a brand new diskette. First time it's ever been used. And I have a copy of a classic Apple II game right here. I didn't have to go to the store. I didn't have to go on eBay. I didn't do any of that stuff. All I had to do was keep a stockpile of these in my house, and anytime I want to try something new for the Apple II, that's all I got to do. Now let's restart this machine and see if it boots. Oh, it goes right to a command line. I still haven't figured out how to boot it from a floppy drive. I have to figure that out. I don't know the Apple II command line interface. I got to learn it. I think I might buy a classic Apple II manual that has all that information on it. But you don't have to switch it off and restart it. You can just, you can just use command lines and, yeah. Just like you can with a DOS machine. You don't have to power down a DOS machine every time you switch software. You just have to know with the freaking command line interface how that works. Alright, here we go. And by the way, just a quick heads up, I just inherited from a gentleman who taught me how to use DOS when I was a kid. He passed away. Good man. His name was Frank McLaughlin. Good man. And he taught me so much about DOS when I was a kid, and he really got me started in this computer hobby in general. Well, he passed away. He was 79 years old, and just about to turn 82. And I got all of his Commodore stuff. He was a big Commodore nut back in the 80s, and he left all of his equipment in his back bedroom with covers on it. Alright, this game is now... But anyway, it's all mine. I gotta go get it. Don't know where I'm gonna put it, but I'm gonna get it. So this is Hardball. Let's see if I can... There we go. Use the mouse. Let's see. DH, designated hitter. Use mouse, joystick, or keys to select press button or spacebar to start game. I'm going to just select that one. Offense uses. Defense uses. Oh, this is a 2-player. Look at the graphics on this game. This is pretty cool. I don't know how to play baseball, let alone computer baseball, so I really don't. Do I look like I know how to play baseball? Come on. So how do I play? What do I do? Return? Anyway. Not really sure what to do. It's not doing anything. Do I use the arrow keys? Or did I select use joystick? Maybe that's what I did. Son of a bitch. Son of a bitch. I don't know how to play. If I hit the space bar, there we go. I don't know. Well, anyway, that's Hardball right there. Now we're going to go ahead and label the disc. That was entertaining, wasn't it? Alright. A couple of things I want to also mention. When you have an Apple II, it's best to have multiple floppy drives, especially with one of these. The thing is, a lot of these multi-disc games are, well, there's so many of them, and they don't really play nicely when you just have one drive. They tend to get fatiguing when you start having to swap disks every 5 seconds. So I just wanted to mention that if you have the ability to get a second drive for your 2GS, do it. Alright, that's that. Hardball. Any other questions? This was a viewer request. Occasionally and it can take me a year or two to answer those requests, but it was a valid one. I mean, really. Well, I should just put the camera down, huh? I could use my tripod, but fuck that. Hardball. Sometimes it's very handy to have the manuals for these games because some of the gameplay stuff isn't clear. It's not obvious. But anyway, that was fun. I want to show you one more site that I get a lot of my Apple II software from, and this is something that I've already covered in a video before, but while we're here, Apple II software. Just do a search for Apple II software. You're going to see a website called Apple II Online, and they also have a great selection of disk images that you can choose from. Most of this stuff is for the older Apple products, but it will work on the 2GS. Animated sex cartoons. I actually have that one, and it's interesting. It's interesting. It's actually kind of lame. But anyway, I just wanted to kind of cover all this stuff for you guys, and if there, hopefully I left all the unanswered questions answered. Oh, yes. This website blends the 2GS with the regular Apple II software, but it denotes the 2GS stuff with I think they call that an eighth note. So if you see this symbol, it's designed for the 2GS specifically. Thank you for watching, and have a great day.